Hello, and welcome to my workshop. I'm Andy Anderson.
Hello, and welcome back to my shop. This time I'm going to want to show how I created the representative rib stitching on top of my wing panel such that it looks as if I actually have rib stitching done on the full size. This is a non-certified means of doing this. You would never do this on a full-size aircraft or ultralight. So this is showing you the end result of rib stitching going down over top of the rib at a spacing that I determined for my model. You can do calculations off the web. It determines how far you have to have stitching done in a rib that's exposed to the wind coming across the wing as opposed to not exposed. So I did all my calculations at a 44% to my scale, and this is what I came up with, width and distance apart for my rib stitching. So I just want to show you this as a way of how I'm getting to where I'm working toward. Set that aside, and I'll bring out a 3D printed tool that I've created. It's pretty simple. It has lines down the length of the tool that represents the width of the stitching that I'm putting on top of the rib. That's my calculated width. Ends up being right about the same width as the rib is anyway, which is appropriate. And then I had to calculate how far apart the ribs are based on the wind loading on the wing and speed you're going to go at, and there's all kinds of calculations. And then take 44%, and I came up with this distance. It's really not that critical for a model aircraft. This is non-certified type of an approach, so you don't have to follow all the certifications. What I'm doing with this is I'm going to create the method that I've seen online several places where guys have taken pieces of 2x4s, 2x2s, whatever, and putting tape on like I am onto this piece, and then wrapping it with string or tape, whatever they decide that they're going to use for their presentation of their how big of a stitch they want to have shown through. It's all personal. I don't know if there's any set answer, but I chose it so that it looked the best for me. So I'm going to show you what I do. So for this, I have a roll of 3 double-sided tape. It happens to be the same width as the lines from the outside lines in between them. I put a piece of double-sided tape on there, like so, in between the 2 outside black lines, and stick it down to the board. I then cut it off, and I get rid of this tool. Secure it down tight to the board, and release the paper backing so that I expose the other side of the double-sided tape. Which didn't happen, I pulled it right off. So I'm going to do that again and pull off the backing this time. And expose the other side of the double-sided tape. So now I've got double-sided tape stuck to one face of this board. I'm going to take thread that I've chosen to represent my stitch that I want to show on top of the rib. And I'm just going to temporarily put it down on top of this double-sided tape on the outside here so it holds it while I wrap this in. And I'm going to wrap it around the back side of the board through the slots so that they're going equidistant across the board all the way down. And that creates a very similar pattern all the way down. You can choose to have a non-standard spacing and do it randomly. I chose to do it with slots because I like symmetry. So this is just my way of doing what I like doing, as is with anybody else who does model aircraft. They like to do it the way they like it, and that's just fine. We all get to do it the way we like to do it. So I've got it all wrapped around. I cut away that piece of thread, and that thread is just pieces of length of thread that you can get at any arts, crafts, Walmart, Joann fabric store, whatever fabric store. And I've got it wrapped around here. And now I'm going to take, and I'm going to use my fingers just to, the only thing I need the tape for right now is to hold that string in place. And so rather than going through what I've had to do in the past, losing the string off the tape, I'm just forcing it into there. I don't care that the tape loses some of its tacky because I'm not going to use that. Matter of fact, it becomes detrimental down the road, so less tacky is not a bad thing, but it doesn't bother it either way. What I really want is for those strings to stay intact onto this board. So there I have all of the strings attached down to that double-sided tape, best I can. So now I'll take a single edge razor blade and I'm going to run that blade at a very slight angle down the two outside rows. Those two outside rows are going to cut down through the thread and release them across the back. And then I'll do it on the other side. So then I end up with strings hanging off the back side that I want taken away, and have strings left on the front side on top of the tape. So the back side, I've got all these strings that have been released. Got one up here that I just used to hold that out of the way, clear that out of the way. Another one down here. So all I'm left with now, usable, is this front of this board that has threads running across it at the distance that I want it to be. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a single edge razor blade. I'm going to run it down the next line going down. I just highlight them in black so that I can see them easier, but it has a ridge 3D printed in place that allows me to run through without having to use a straight edge. For demonstration purposes, this is a piece that I've already been using. I've been practicing this on the wing. That's how I got the wing done so far. So this is one where I've already used 1, 2, 3 pieces of this, and I still have 3 pieces on there that has the strings, the threads, still intact on top of it. So as long as I protect it, I can reuse it later. And I do is I pull off that strip of tape, and if you can see it, there's strings that are, you can see on that piece of tape that run down, and it's now is able to be placed onto the wing panel and put into position where I want it on the wing panel, on top of the rib, and stick it down. And that gives me the ability to start working on the next step, which would be the pinked tape to go over top of it. That'll be another time I'll show you that. Thank you.